YouTube, how's it going? Frogs Angels is back on Overreaction Monday. Week 1 of the NFL isn't quite done yet. I will predict the scores of those two Monday night games at the end of this video, but so much madness on that Sunday football. I want to break it down, give you my thoughts, recap. You can't overreact too much. A lot of people are already doing it. It's just week 1 of the NFL. In the past, it's shown that you can't really take anything away from it. Sometimes you can, but I'm going to give you my thoughts on each game. Maybe won't spend a whole bunch of time on each game because, I didn't get to see every single game, full game for every single game. But I did watch a lot of football, and I'm going to give you my thoughts of these games and going forward for these teams. Again, predicting the Monday night scores at the end of this video. We will recap those games later on during the week. Also have college football pick'ems tomorrow, which is Tuesday, during the day, and then at night we will have the NFL Week 2 pick'ems, and then Wednesday, updated power rankings. We'll be updating those NFL power rankings every week, and we have Friday live streams. So a lot of football action going on. Like it a lot. Links in the description to our prediction pools, free to play. Go join those. It's never too late. But let's break it down. Again, some of these may be quick. The Falcons and the Eagles, happened last Thursday. We kind of recapped that already, but real quick, if you missed that, you can also follow our Twitter, frogs_angels. I can answer any questions if I miss something, and I recap things sometimes on there. Kind of want to save it for here, though. But the Falcons-Eagles, Matt Ryan played a pretty poor game. I'm not too worried about it, though. He's a former MVP. I think he can still play like it going forward. Play calling was just still terrible. It was almost a reenactment of the game from last year. So tough one for Falcons fans. Defense, they had some bright spots in the defense. Unfortunately, Keanu Neal is out for the season, but DeMonte Kazee really impressed me, and he's got a bright future. Eagles side, Foles wasn't too impressive either, got the win. Red zone defense is excellent. Corner depth is excellent. Tackling in the secondary is a little bit of a concern, but they got the job done. And then I thought Fletcher Cox was the best player on the field in that game. Not a surprise there. But on to the Sunday games. Bengals, Colts, 34-23 final Bengals. This one, even though it doesn't look that close, it was really close. That Doyle fumble and return for a touchdown really changed everything. The Bengals start off the game with an interception, Andy Dalton interception, and then Andrew Luck goes and throws an interception. Other than that, I think there was flashes of Andrew Luck showing signs that he can be back to where he was. I mean, that's really not a surprise. Needs to stay more consistent, but it's not anything to worry about because he's just coming back from a long break. The Colts do need some more weapons, I think. They need Marlon Mack back. I like Wilkins for the future. Hines can catch the ball in the backfield real well. I think they can use him more, and they'll start to use him more. We're going to see the offensive line start to improve. I really think they need Marlon Mack back. I think they can use another receiver out there. It was unfortunate Deion Kane was out for the season. I thought that was a steal. Defensively, it's kind of what I expected, what we expected. For the Colts, it was going to be one of the worst in football this year. And giving up 34 to the Bengals, that's not good. And the Bengals are a team who can struggle on offense. Like Joe Mixon in that game, thought he played a great game. A.J. Green took him a little while to get going, but then really got going. That may have something to do with Andy Dalton. Started off slow, ended up pretty solid. So that's my takeaways from the Bengals-Colts game. Going forward, the Colts are still in the rebuild process. Again, I want Marlon Mack back for the Colts. But they could get better. Not could. I think they will get better as the season goes on. I think Andrew Luck will get better at more time, and the young running backs will get better at more time. The defense, all kinds of guys that are young could get better, but expect it to be one of the worst defenses in the NFL, unfortunately. The Bengals, it's a positive game. You got the win. You scored 34 points. You don't see that a lot if you're a Bengals fan. You don't see that a lot if you're a football fan. So you did play the Colts, but overall, good takeaways from that. Bills-Ravens, 3-47. The Bills were last in my pre-Week 1 power rankings, and that kind of that's looking right now. The Ravens, much like the Bengals, a team that has struggled to score, so a big positive here. Even though you played the Bills have a decent defense. You scored 47 points. Flacco looked very good. Alex Collins didn't do too much. Scored right away. I actually have my fantasy team. Scored right away, and then really nothing much after that, but they didn't really need him. They kept passing the ball. I liked that a lot. They went out there and picked up some pretty solid receivers. You would like for the receiver group to get better, but they did a good job going out there, picking things up. Love the play calling for the Ravens. Big positive. You scored 47 points. You got a blowout win. There's really no negatives from this, but the one thing is it's week 1 of the NFL. You played probably the worst team in football, so don't get your hopes up, but impressive win for the Ravens. Obviously, positive takeaways here. But again, it's week 1. The Bills, 3 points. I can't say I'm surprised by the 3 points. I am surprised that they let the Ravens score 47. There was that one throw that Flacco, everyone's saying it was perfect throw in the back of the end zone, perfect throw. I believe it was E.J. Gaines. He needed to make a play on that ball. It was a perfect placed ball by Flacco, but he hung that up to be picked, honestly. Good throw at the end of the day, but E.J. Gaines has to make a play on that ball. I expected better things from this Bills defense, mainly their secondary. I thought could have been one of the better secondaries in football. It doesn't help when your offense goes 3 and out. How long did it take them for them to get a first down? It's just ridiculous. So, teams like the Bills could have a very good defense, but they can't unleash their full potential with an offense like that. Back to starting Nathan Peterman, I don't agree with it. Josh Allen might not be much better, but you traded up, you drafted him. He's the future, and you know it. You can't play another guy that does have potential for the future because he was a rookie last year if you believe Josh Allen is the future. So I disagree with it completely. I don't like the coaching staff. I don't like the decision-making. The defense has good players. They didn't play well, so something's going on. I'm not a fan of what the Bills are doing. That's really not a hot take or anything. That's just how it is. Like I said, Bills were last in my power rankings, and I felt pretty good about that prediction. I don't feel pretty good, I guess, about the Bucs being second to last. They score 48 points with their backup quarterback on the Saints and beat them. This is the shocker of the week. There was something else that was big this week. Everyone could predict what that was in a storyline, but this was the shocker of the week. 48 points, and the Saints score 40 and lose the game. I mentioned when doing power rankings, talking about contenders, the Saints were a contender. They still are. Don't overreact from week 1. But I was worried about their defense, and people were letting me have it for that. And I'm still worried about their defense, obviously. I think some new people are worried about their defense. The bright spots going into the season were guys like Marshawn Lattimore. He did not have a good game. He's still young. He's going to have a good season, but I don't know. I don't really like the safety situation. Marcus Williams has a bright future, still needs some work. The linebacker unit is not good. Defensive line, they draft Marcus Davenport, but he's got a bright future, but he's a developing guy. He needs to be developed for a long time. Outside of Cameron Jordan, there's really nothing going on for their pass rush, and I think the big takeaway from week 1 of the NFL, not just this game, everything, pass rush is so. We knew it was so important, but I was kind of back and forth. What's the most important thing in football? Elite quarterback play, elite pass rush. It's pass rush to me, and this week has shown that. Obviously, you need a good quarterback to win, but the Bucs, some people consider Fitzpatrick not a good quarterback, but he played like one, so the Bucs shown they can win with average quarterback, you should say, a running back situation. Ronald Jones doesn't even dress. That's so disappointing. A very good receiving unit. But a bad defense for the Bucs, and they win still. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what to take away from this. I don't know if it's more of a bad game for the Saints or more of a good game from the Bucs. I think both teams offensively very good, but I think it's more. I'm worried about both their defenses. Honestly, Fitzpatrick was impressive. Obviously, a great day for the Buccaneers to win in New Orleans. It's just shocking. So the Bucs, I think everyone was sleeping on the Bucs, but it is only week 1. Can't overreact. We can see they rather match up with an offensive team rather than a defensive team. That makes sense to me. The Bucs secondary does need some work, but that Saints defense, man, can that defense with that elite offense, can that defense win a Super Bowl? You can't scratch them off the contending list. You cannot after week 1, even though they lost at home to the Bucs, who are predicted to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. I don't think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, but that defense could give them some losses. But, man, I'm really curious to see what the Saints defense does going forward. But let's rewind a little bit. Week 1 last year against the Vikings, against Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford looked like an MVP, tore apart that secondary, and then the Saints started to figure it out. So maybe it's a similar situation there. I'm still a little concerned, but you can't scratch them off the contending list in no way. And maybe, like last year, they'll start to figure it out, pick it up. Good coaching staffs, figure things out. That's why week 1, guys are a little rusty. You don't really get to watch game film, so the better coaching staffs, the better talent starts to get better. So that's a positive for the Saints there. But just the shocker of the day, big winner of the day, Fitzpatrick and the Bucs. Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, Oh, another thing I forgot to mention. Big thing here. The Bucs offensive line. I mentioned before. They need to stay more consistent. 1 year, a lot of these guys are blocking at a high level. Look like a top, not an elite offensive line, but a top offensive line. And then all of a sudden, they're maybe in the bottom half of the league. I thought they did a very good job in this game. Very impressive. Stayed consistent. I like that offensive line in that game, and that was a big reason why they were able to score a lot of points. So let's go on to some more games here. Texans, Patriots, 27-20. Score looks close. It really wasn't that close, though, in my opinion. Tom Brady and Gronk got off to a good start. Patriots, I was a little worried about the Patriots defense. I thought this would be more of a shootout. They played pretty well, but I think it's not more that they played pretty well. It's more that the Texans offense line, it was as expected. It started off very bad. I think that stuck in Watson's head. It's unfortunate. I got Watson and Hopkins on my fantasy team, and we need to see more, especially against defenses like this. But it has to do with the offensive line. It's tough. Like I said, I think there was a bigger win than it shows. Gronk was just, again, dominant. That's why I keep saying he might be the most dominant player in football. I think Tom Brady is the best player in football, though. One thing, that Gronk catch that a lot of people think was probably a drop, I'd probably agree. Actually, it might have been a drop there. But the one thing you notice is right the second it happens, they don't even think. Nobody celebrates. They get on the ball and run another play. I mean, it's common sense stuff. It's what should be done. But why is that the only team that does that? I see it in college football. I see it in NFL. There's a close play. It may be reviewed, but you have to get on the ball and run a play. And it seems like the Patriots, the most well-coached team, the team that has been winning the most in the last how many years, is the smartest team, the only team that knows what to do in that situation. That really stuck out to me. Just situations like that, they're prepared. And you can't say enough about that coaching staff, Tom Brady. The receiving unit is poor, but they're not poor because Tom Brady makes them look good. Dorsett was very impressive. I thought Cordero Patterson would get more action, but doesn't really matter. Running backs out of the game. Sony Michel's hurt. I think he's got a bright future. Offensive line, some people are a little worried because they got some new names in there, some guys leaving, but they're just good. Somehow they're just good just like that, and a lot of credit to the coaching staff. Texans going forward, that offensive line, how far can they get with that offensive line? I think their secondary needs to be better too. Some injuries, that's unfortunate. So, the pass rush needs to pick it up. The Patriots offensive line did a great job. The pass rush needs to be better for them to stop teams like the Patriots and compete and contend for the playoffs and further. But the question at the end of the day is how far can they go with that offensive line? And, I think they can make the playoffs, but that's really where I see them. They can make the playoffs, and that's unfortunate. But you can't overreact from week one. They did play maybe the best team in football. But again, 27-20 doesn't show what really happened there, I think. On to the Niners and Vikings final, 24-16. I think, honestly, sloppy play from both teams here. Both teams. The Vikings were up 24-6 at one point, I believe. They couldn't quite just put it away. I think there was a billion chances where the Vikings could have put this game away and actually could have made it a big win, and they just couldn't quite do it. I think it started early on. Delvin Cook had a fumble, and it was a ridiculous run, absolute ridiculous run, and then Fred Warner comes out of nowhere, pokes it out. Fred Warner had a hell of a game. From the Niners defense, Fred Warner and DeForest Buckner, very impressive, bright future. Really, the whole Niners team, bright future, but young mistakes is what happened with the Niners here, and being in Minnesota was a factor. Playing against that defense, Garoppolo hasn't played against that defense yet, but he's got a bright future. Did not play a good game in this one. Had a couple bright moments. But like I said, I think both teams were sloppy. You're not shocked that the Niners had some sloppy play, and they had injuries on the offensive line during this game. I thought they actually did a decent job for having those offensive line injuries. But the Vikings, I think Kirk Cousins, he made some ridiculous throws early on, and I think Diggs was playing a heck of a game. They kind of stopped going to that, and then Dalvin Cook was playing a heck of a game in the passing game, and they just got super conservative way too early. I mentioned they could have put the game away a long time ago. It started with the fumble. I think if the fumble didn't happen, maybe the game's out of reach too early. But then in the conservative play, I think they could have kept moving downfield in scoring. So they got conservative too early. Maybe the offensive line wasn't good for the Vikings. Wasn't really good for either team, but the Niners had the injuries. The Vikings, one thing I noticed last year is they actually could run block, even though people were concerned about their offensive line. I don't think they could do it this game. They could not really run block too well. Offensive line needs to step it up. They get the new offense corner D Filippo in there, but I don't think early on impressive play calling, impressive game plan, but second half I don't think so. I think it's got to be better. I think they have the talent to contend, and really it doesn't change after week one. It's only week one, but I think they could be better. So I guess that's a positive. They could be better, and they still won the game. Niners had some unfortunate injuries, like I mentioned. Goodwin got hurt early. They really needed McKinnon too. They could use another running back, honestly. But the Niners are a team that has a bright future. They could sneak in as a wild card this year, but the NFC is just so stacked where it's going to be very, very tough. I think Sheldon Richardson, the pickup for the Vikings, was big time. I thought he was the best player. I think he was the most dominant player in this game. I think Diggs showed that he's the best player in this game, but they kind of just stopped going to him. I really don't know why. They got conservative too early. I'm not really sure what the explanation is for that. But Sheldon Richardson was very, very dominant. Vikings defense, what was really good, very good in the red zone, but for some reason they couldn't cover the tight end. I don't know what the issue with that was. Mackenzie Alexander was out of the game. And then Trey Waynes got knocked out of the game. And then one of their backup safeties, Jerron Kearse, has to come in and play corner. Interesting situation. He actually did a very good job. He got called for a pass interference later in the game. I didn't agree with the call. But he actually did a pretty good job. For a backup safety that usually when a backup safety is needed for the Vikings team, it's usually Ant Harris. And then they need a backup corner, and they're going to throw Jerron Kearse in there. I thought he was pretty impressive. Wonder if Trey Waynes is okay. They need Mackenzie Alexander back in there. But I think both teams could play better, so I guess that's a positive going forward if they play their game. It's only week one, so you expect both teams to play better. I think the Vikings are a contender, but they need to step it up. I think the Niners can contend for the wild card spot, but they need to step it up. Garoppolo needs to be more accurate. Didn't play good under pressure, but yeah, that's my takeaways from that game. Titans and Dolphins, I don't even know what to make of this game. You can't really take away anything from this game. Week one from hell is what I was calling it for the Tennessee Titans. Just the week one from hell. That's what I kept saying yesterday, and that's what it was. The delay, it just kept getting delayed. So from week one, you can't take away too much, and then add that, you can't take away really anything from this game. Overall, Dolphins got a win. I thought Tannehill played pretty good. I thought the run game was pretty good. So good day for the Dolphins. Good year. Good week. Starting off the year with a win. But the Titans, Mariota goes down. Delaney Walker's going to be out for the season. Taylor Lewan gets knocked out of the game. It was just a disaster. And sitting there all day, waiting to play this game and then losing and have guys get knocked out of the game. It was the week one from hell for the Tennessee Titans. Hopefully Mariota's okay, because if he's not, they will be contending for that number one overall pick if he's out. So unfortunate week for the Titans. I was pretty high on them going into the season. I'm not going to change anything right now because you can't really take anything away from that game. The only thing you can take away is good day for the Dolphins. Played, they were pretty consistent in this game. Really didn't show any signs of slowing down or anything. We had 2 kickoff returns in this game. It was a weird game. Good day for the Dolphins. Titans, I still like their team, but you got to stay healthy. And early on, almost forgot. Early on, they should have kicked a field goal. They should have scored a touchdown before going for it on 4th down. But big mistake not kicking that field goal, I think. Big mistake. But, it didn't look like it in the end. But at the time, I don't know how you don't kick that field goal. They had a play on 3rd down. Mariota, it was bad on Mariota's part. It was tough to throw. He's got to turn his body and throw it. It was the out route on the left side. He had a guy open. He threw it way too late. It was almost a pick, and if it was picked, it was a pick 6. So big mistake by him there. If they knew they were going for it on 4th down, they should have ran it again at some point. Not on 4th down, obviously. But, they weren't really that. If you're on the 1 or 2 yard line, okay, but I don't really get the decision of going for it there, and it was just a mess. Big mess of a game for the Titans, but if healthy, they're a pretty good team, I think, on paper. Coaching's got to step it up. Mariota's got to step it up and stay healthy. Jags, Giants, 20-15. Weird score there for scoreline there. Really, the Jags defense was back. I think at this point, I think it's pretty clear there's two defenses, the Vikings and the Jags, that are just no one is close, really. There's some good defenses out there, but I think everyone, it has to be pretty confident those are the two top defenses in football, and it showed in week 1. Besides that one Barkley run where he broke like a million tackles, I don't know what that was, but that's one play. Can't be concerned over that, but I don't know how so many guys miss tackles on the Jags. It's unlike them, but top defense, it showed. The Giants could have won this game. Eli, didn't play a terrible game, but he missed some big-time throws, like barely, but he missed them. For a former Super Bowl winning quarterback and a future Hall of Famer, we know he's declining, but we still expect him to make some of those throws, and the game could have been totally different. They could have won that game, honestly. But really the difference was, Jags defense. I thought Odell played a good game. Saquon played, he could do better, but it was the Jags defense in week 1. That run was ridiculous. I mentioned in the past, just kind of a random thought I was talking about on Twitter a little bit. Landon Collins, I mentioned in the past, I got completely bashed for it, and I'm gonna stick with my take here. I don't like Landon Collins' game. I think he may be the most overrated player in the NFL. I think he may have, out of starting safeties, I think he may have the worst pursuit angle on tackles. You've seen Bortles run. I don't know where Landon Collins was going. I don't know where he was on that, and it's not just one play. I've seen it over and over again on the years. The guy's a linebacker is what he is. If somebody's coming straight on with him, very good tackler. Very good tackler, and I think people overhype him for those reasons. The secondary needs to step it up for the Giants, I think. If you're going to play quarterbacks better than Blake Bortles, it needs to step up. Down the sideline, angles, pursuit angles, they need to be picked up. But, you held them to 20 points, but you lost the game, so that's really my takeaways from the Jags-Giants game. Jags defense wins that game. Steelers-Browns, tie game in overtime. Who would have thought that? Takeaways, Denzel Ward, heck of a debut for the rookie. He's got a bright future. 2 picks on Big Ben. Big Ben, I mentioned it before. He's been declining here and there, not as rapidly as a guy like Eli Manning, who was in his draft class actually. But he's been declining, and I was kind of thinking, is there another step down? And it's only week 1, but you played the Browns, and it looked like a step down. Some of these throws are very questionable. Too many interceptions, too many off-target throws. When you have very good wide receivers, too. The Steelers are going to contend. They're going to be known as a contending team, but can they win the Super Bowl with this Big Ben play? And they can't. The answer is they cannot. He could pick it up only week 1. But it needs to be better. They got to win this game. They really have to win this game. And there's situations where you could have said the Browns needed to win that game. They could have won that game, and that's true. Bright future for the Browns. Secondary played pretty well. Could be better. It's going to struggle during the year. Denzel Ward was a bright spot. Tyrod Taylor did not have a good game, I don't think. Being very athletic did get them some points there. But, Tyrod could have good games this year, too. Not saying he's not a good quarterback. He helped the Bills get to the playoffs last year. But you draft Baker, number 1, and I was very high on Baker. I think Baker should have started in this year and should be starting all year. But that's just my take. Questionable play calls for the Browns. That's not super surprising. Steelers, I was worried about their secondary. It showed some good moments here and there. Even on the plays they gave up, good coverage here and there. Sutton had a pretty good game. A guy that I expected to step up to. Draft pick out of Tennessee last year. I liked him a lot. So, he could step up this year. I like their front 7. Oh, Watt. Watt had a hell of a game. He's got a bright future. Was it 4 sacks? That's very impressive because the Browns' offensive line is pretty solid too. So, takeaways from the game. Young guys, Denzel Ward, TJ Watt, very impressive. Big Ben, for them to win a Super Bowl, they're going to be a contender, but for them to actually win a Super Bowl, he's got to pick it up. Can't continue to decline. I think he's got a good offensive line, doesn't have to worry about pressure. He's got good receiving units, so there's really no excuses here. Does Le'Veon Bell need to get back? Yeah, sure, you want him back, but I think almost any back could be good in the Steelers offense. Not that James Conner is Le'Veon Bell and will be as good as him, but I think you get my point. Another shocker to me, the Chiefs and the Chargers, 38-28. I've been saying I think the Chargers they've been known for starting off bad, and I've been saying it's probably just a coincidence, but maybe not. They give up 38 points. You didn't have Joey Bosa. Like I mentioned, pass rush I think is the most, not a single pass rusher, but pass rush in general. Having a very good pass rush is the most important thing in football. Could be the most dominant thing when you have it. And they were lacking it. Maybe it's because Joey Bosa's out, but that's one guy. You still gave up 38 points. I expected the Chargers defense to be much better. Even though the Chiefs offense we expected big things from, but maybe not that much. Maybe not 38 points against the Chargers defense away, too. They were away in this game. The Chargers they play them twice. When they're home, they got to win this game. The Chargers on paper are contenders. They need Joey Bosa in there, but they are contenders on paper. And can they actually contend, though, on the field? That's the big question. But really the takeaways from this are Chargers need Joey Bosa. Chargers defense was very disappointing. Very disappointing. Tackling after the catch really were lacking speed, and that brings me to Tyreek Hill, which, wow. Just wow. Maybe the MVP. If there was an MVP ladder, there's a couple obvious guys. Maybe one guy we're going to talk about later that is the obvious, the easy choice. But Tyreek Hill, for me, I happen to have him in my fantasy team. Wow. Just the speed is next level. The run after catch, even the catch ability. Mahomes was so impressive. That was throw on the run is just so impressive. The Chiefs got a bright future. Really, why I wasn't high on the Chiefs was not because their offense, was because their defense. They have some holes in their defense. It could show this year still. They got the win here, though, scoring 38 points. You got to win when you score 38 points. They did so. There's really no other takeaways besides Chargers defense was disappointing. The Chiefs offense was just so exciting, so fun to watch. Mahomes and Tyreek Hill duo for the future. Man, I can't get over the game from Tyreek Hill. Cannot, in the punt return, and the return too. It's just, what a game. I think maybe MVP of the week. So heck of a game for the Chiefs. I'm looking for, I want to see what their defense does going forward, because that's where I had my concerns. Was not concerned about the offense. Was surprised they put up 38 points. On to the Cowboys, Panthers. Kind of a mess of a game, I think. I predicted a shootout here, 16-8, complete opposite of a shootout. Cowboys missing offensive linemen. They need those guys back. But it's kind of sad that they need those guys back to do things. You would think they have, Dak's got to play better. Zeke's got to play better. But they were missing guys on the offensive line. They do need help at the receiver unit. Defensively, the defense has struggled over the years, and they held them to 16 points, so you can't really blame the defense here. DeMarcus Lawrence was good. The defense was impressive. This is kind of surprising. You thought if they lost, it was because of the defense, not because of the offense, but it shows how much they need it's kind of sad to say. They need their offensive line. They need the best offensive line to put up points. And the Panthers defense played very well, but I think they're beatable. I think that defense is beatable. I don't think it's as good as it has been in recent years, and Thomas Davis is not in there as well. Kuechly, it sounds like it's going to be fine, just a hyperextension, so good thing there. But it's just the takeaway from this is that the Cowboys offense needs to be better, and they need to figure out how to play without what they're missing. I guess they can't contend. I thought this offense will be back to form, but they can't contend without their offensive line. They can't contend. Without a better receiving unit. In terms of the Panthers, I've never really been a fan of the Turner play calling. I didn't really like it in this game either. I think it was just Cam Newton that won the game, even though the offense didn't win the game. Cam was very smooth, very smart, so good with the ball in his hands, running. Very impressive. I think McCaffrey needs to be better. That fumble he had early on was there's no way he should lose that ball. It was not like somebody hit him hard, not like somebody punched the ball out. Kind of barely got grazed, and it seemed like it came out, so that needs to be better. Offense needs to be better, really. I like Cam. I was worried about their offensive line. I thought it was maybe one of the worst in the NFL. It didn't play like one of the worst in the NFL. It wasn't great, but I guess that's a positive. You don't have to worry too much about that. But it does need to be better. Again, I think play calling could be better. That was something I was concerned about going forward, or for this year. But I like Cam's game, even though they only scored 16 points. But really, I don't know what to take away from that game. We need to see both those teams play against other teams, really. We'll see. We'll see. Surprisingly, a defensive game. Very surprising. Redskins 24, Cardinals 6. I predicted the Cardinals to win. Getting closer to the season, I was looking at their team. They got some studs on their team, big-time playmakers. I was pretty high on David Johnson. I thought they can win this game. Thought they can be a sneaky team, but good job to the Redskins. They put up 24 points. They won the game 24-6. But what I take away from this game is very, very poor performance from the Cardinals. Not the players and the coaching staff. I think mainly, really, the defense giving up way too many yards. But then the play calling, the coaching staff, David Johnson didn't get enough touches. Maybe it's because they got down early. There was really nothing going for this Cardinals team. There was really nothing going. Bradford can be a good quarterback, but I really think you should have went with Rosen to start the year. Would that have changed this game? No, it would not have. But I still think Rosen needs to be the guy because you need to build this team for the future. Because I don't know, it's only week 1, but I don't know if it's going anywhere anytime soon. So, they do need better receivers too. But David Johnson needs to be used more. The defense needs to do a better job tackling. They have some stars on the team, but it's not going to help. It's not going to do anything if you play like this, coach like this. But again, not to take anything away from this Redskins win. Good win, 24-6. Defense, I was worried about. I was literally worried about their tackling in the secondary, rather the secondary in general. But good job. I want to see more though before I judge that how good that team is. But yeah, my main takeaway from this is poor performance for the whole organization of the Cardinals. By that, I mean not just the players, the coaching. I think the coaching is more where the blame goes, really. Just offensive play calling. It was a poor performance. More games here to go over. Seahawks and Broncos, interception fest. Don't expect that from Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had some diamond throws, but 2 interceptions is surprising. Broncos, here's the thing here. Here's the bottom line. Keenum threw 3 interceptions. Other than take away the 3 interceptions, he had a heck of a game. But your quarterback throws 3 interceptions and you win the game 27-24. What do you make of that? Well, if you're a Broncos fan, we got the win. He needs to play better. If he does, we may be a pretty good team. Emmanuel Sanders coming out of nowhere. Heck of a game. They added receivers, and he was kind of starting to decline, kind of disappearing. So I thought he may be gonna disappear more. I thought maybe he would disappear more because he was kind of doing that already, but I guess you just needed a quarterback. Impressive receivers for the Broncos, but for the Seahawks, I mean, you got 3 interceptions and you lose the game. Besides the interceptions, that defense, yeah, I mean, you lost too much on that defense. So this might be an ugly year for the Seahawks, really. You need Russ to play out of his mind to win, and I don't think the Broncos are any type of contender. So that's who you play. So it's more disappointing for the Seahawks, I think. Really, the bottom line, like I said, was Keenum throwing 3 interceptions, but his team wins the game. So, Rashad Penny couldn't get anything going, really. It's just very disappointing, really, is what this is from the Seahawks. You got a couple playmakers, Old Thomas, Bobby Wagner, big-time players there, but it really, similar to the Cardinals situation. Big-time players, but it really means nothing. The rest of the team needs to be better. That's really all I got for that. And then the Sunday night game. Wow, what a game that was. Bears-Packers, the rival game. Bears completely... I can talk forever about this game. Let's start from the top. From the beginning of the game. The Bears come out just dominating this game, obviously. And right away, I didn't know what to make of it. Was this the Bears playing really good football? Like, I'm talking about right off the bat, right in the beginning, where the Bears were already up big. Or already up right off the bat. I couldn't decide what to make of it. Were the Bears really good? Was the Packers defense a really team that bad? At first, to me, it was the Packers defense playing very poorly, very, very poorly. They got some young guys in there, but Trubisky just kept finding guys wide open. What was happening there? That kind of happened the whole first half. So at first, I was kind of like, this Packers defense, man. We knew it wasn't good, but this is rough. But then Trubisky started making some throws that made me think maybe this Bears offense is legit. The play calling was good. The tempo was the main thing. The tempo, it's so hard to stop. And Trubisky was making some real good throws, and he's a heck of a runner, heck of a scrambler. And I'm thinking this Bears team's legit. And, I'm still not going to count them out after this game's over. I'm still not going to count the Bears out. They've shown signs, but, we'll kind of get to my thoughts after or going forward after I get through this game. But Rodgers gets knocked out. Before he gets knocked out, actually, there was one early in the game where he was kind of just sitting in the pocket. He had time, and I believe it was Akeem Hicks. I think he knocked it out of Rodgers' hands. The Packers got it back, but at that point, I was so confused on what Rodgers was doing in that point because he seen him coming. He kind of just sat there. Was nobody getting open? Obviously, no one was getting open, so that's a problem there. But I was very confused to see that from Rodgers early on, so it was kind of just a mess. The Bears' pass rush was insane early. Khalil Mack, maybe one of the MVPs of the week, and you can't forget that he just got there. He just got there, got thrown in there. So very impressive there. Akeem Hicks, as expected, was very impressive. Even though I lost the game, the Bears' defense was impressive. The Bears in general were pretty impressive. You can't blow a lead like that, though. But then Rodgers gets hurt. The pass rush seems even worse. Is that because, it seemed like when Kaiser was in versus when Aaron Rodgers came back in, the blocking was just way different. It can't be, Rodgers has got to go to the line, make changes, what he sees. That could be part of it, but it was night and day. And, Kaiser didn't play too well. Khalil Mack really just dominated him. But then the comeback happens, and this is where I'm really going to get into it. You got to give a lot of credit to Aaron Rodgers. Insane, heck of a player, maybe the best in football. And the talk of today is just Rodgers, MVP, the GOAT, and you can't disagree with that talk. You can't say that shouldn't be the talk. But here's my big question. Here is my huge question that I'm going to ask everybody. If, at the end of the game, if you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. If Kyle Fuller picks off that ball that Rodgers threw directly to him, I have no idea how that happened. If Kyle Fuller picks that ball off, the question is, would the Bears won? They would have won the game. The question is, what are we be talking about today, how good Rodgers was? And the answer to me is we wouldn't. And that's only one play. That's only one play changing the game outcome and changing today. And then that's the question. I'm not going to sit here and say he needs to catch. That's obvious. He got to catch it. It's a big play. But, Rodgers making that throw was very surprising. But at the end of the day, he got it done. The throw to Randall Cobb was insane. The run after catch was insane. Problem with that Randall Cobb play was big problem here. It's only one play. That stuff, these things happen. But big problem is, why was Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd, the two outside linebackers, the closest to Randall Cobb downfield to making a stop? That is a huge problem. Eddie Jackson came up. He was kind of there. I'm not going to say bad play on him. He was there. So that eliminates one safety. But where in the hell is the rest of the defensive backs there? Very concerning there. I think the Bears secondary could play better. The rest of the defense is very good. But really what I noticed and what popped in my head after the game was, during the game, at the end of the game, the play calling in the second half of the Bears was a problem. I think that was pretty obvious to everyone. They had a couple 3rd and 1s, questionable play calling. To me, you got to run it to Howard or even Cohen. Cohen was having a very good game. Trubisky can run any kind of sneak there. You were doing it early. But then the thing that popped in my head after the game is Nagy, back-to-back games. When he was with 2 games in a row, he's blown leads like that. With against the Titans, with the Chiefs, similar situation. Very, very similar situation. Now, the debate after that game was who was calling plays, Andy Reid and Matt Nagy. So I guess you can say it's different, but it was very, very similar to me, and that's what popped in my head. And I'm surprised no one's talking about that. It was so similar. Stop using the run game. Stop using what was working. I know it is kind of hard to call plays when you're up like that, but I don't know what happened from the first half to the second half. It was a similar situation with Kareem Hunt and the Chiefs last year, and then in last night's game with the running, not just the running backs, but just plays that were working. You kind of just went away from them, and I think that's what I take away from this game is what costed the Bears the game was the play calling in the second half. It was so good in the first half. People talking about Trubisky struggled down the stretch. I'm not gonna disagree with that, but I think Trubisky had a good game, shows signs that he's got a bright future with this team. No signs of being a bust. I think he can compete right there with Mahomes and Watson from that draft class. Bears team is good. The Bears team is good. It just sucks that they lost if you're a Bears fan, because they played. Really, you can't say somebody didn't play a good game, and they lost the game, and they had moments where they took advantage of them too. When Kaiser was in the game, they took advantage of those moments and still lost the game. But they had players play a good game. It's a weird outcome here because they played a good game. Rodgers could be the MVP of Week 1. I said Tyreek Hill, Khalil Mack, what he did, just mind blowing. So the Packers are gonna go play the Vikings next week. That's gonna be fun to watch in Lambeau. NFC North. The top teams in the NFC North. I really think in the beginning of that game, that first half, I'm like, wow, the Bears are going to play with the Vikings and the Packers this year. And you still can't rule them out of that because they were so impressive. I just don't know what happened. I do know what happened. I kind of explained it. But that big question is if Kyle Fuller picks Rodgers off there, we know the answer is the Bears win. But what would we be talking about today? Something totally, totally different in the sports world. Crazy Sunday night game to kick off the week. It's wow. But we got 2 more games. I'm going to predict the scores of these games. Jets are at Detroit. A weird game to have for Sunday or Monday night for Week 1. I think the Lions defense takes a step down this year. I think their offense could take a slight step up, actually. Jets, future, Sam Darnold. How good will he play this year? He's going to struggle at times. I don't know if they have the best weapons. I think their receiving unit is a little underrated, but it's still not. It needs to be better. Defense, they got a good secondary. Other than that, I think they can be better. I like Leonard Williams. In Detroit, Week 1, I think the Lions are the better team. I think they'll be more prepared too. So I like the Lions in this one. I will show the score in a second. We'll show it now because it's going to pop up with the Rams-Raiders score. So I'm going to predict the Lions 28-16. I do think the Jets, even with some struggles, could get going on that Lions defense. There's some holes in it, I think. I don't know if there'll be enough pass rush. The Lions will struggle to stop the run this year, so the Jets could take advantage of that, but I think the defense will play pretty solid in the red zone, force the Jets to kick some field goals. Lions offense could get going. They actually could score more than 28 points, but the Jets secondary, pretty solid. Then, as you can see, Rams 31, Raiders 14. Before Week 1, I predicted some of these teams to have poor defenses. I didn't pick my games too well this week, but I think I was right on that. The teams with poor defenses, it kind of showed this week. So I'm going to stick with that prediction, and that's why I have the Rams scoring as many as 31, because I think the Raiders defense needed Khalil Mack to be decent, take away maybe the best defensive player in football. That defense will struggle. So the Rams are going to score somewhere around there, 28 at least, I think. Maybe we'll be surprised. It's in Oakland. So then I have the Raiders scoring 14. Rams got a solid defense. I'm a little worried about their linebacker unit being in a 3-4. That could be pretty concerning. The Raiders offense could get going this year, but maybe not right away. I think the Rams do get an interception in this game, could get more than one. We'll see, though. So I got a big win there, and it's mainly because the Raiders' defense I'm predicting won't be that good. But again, I didn't really predict games too well this week, so maybe the Jets and the Raiders will win. Out of those two teams, who has a better chance to win? It's tough. Raiders are at home, but I almost think it's the Jets because I don't know if I really like the Lions team this year. I like their offense, but I think their defense could struggle. It's up in the air, but that's my score predictions. Thought I'd add those. Any questions if you think I missed anything? There's some games I didn't really focus on too much. I apologize for that if you were looking forward to that. Again, I couldn't watch the full game for every game, near impossible. But those are my takeaways. Any questions, ask in the comments. Ask at frogs_angels on Twitter. So, yeah, again, later this week, we have coming up really tomorrow, we got 2 different Pick'ems videos, college and NFL, later tomorrow night for the NFL one. Updated power rankings on Wednesday. And then we'll get ready for football the weekend for football. We got live streams every Friday. Join us for that. Friday nights. Subscriber goes 10K subscribers, so click that button. It'd be much appreciated. And then clicking the like button will also be very much appreciated. Thanks for everyone's support. We've been growing rapidly, and it's all thanks to you guys. Appreciate it. Even in the comments, when it's not necessarily positive, brings up a good debate, I still enjoy it, enjoy everyone's company. We got you covered for the NFL season. That'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.